welcome to ESPN. Welcome to the United States. How you feeling?
I feel great. I love coming back to New York. It's a home from me. I lived here for 7 years. So getting off the plane, coming into the city just felt, weirdly familiar to me.
You're here to do the U.S. job, but you're days removed from kind of finishing up at Chelsea.
Yeah.
What did it mean to go out the way you did and get that title on your way out the door?
Well, I wouldn't want to be sitting here without it. I think that would have been difficult to deal with that setback. I think so many people talk about it being a fairy tale ending. The reality is it was really hard. I think ever since I made the announcement I was coming to the US, it's really tough to manage a dressing room when you're on your way out, plus you want to win, and everybody wants to do it for the right reasons. So I thought there was a lot of pressure on us. But to do it at Old Trafford with Sir Alex Ferguson sat behind me, I don't think I'll ever forget that.
How much work were you doing on the U.S. job while you're trying to kind of see out the season at Chelsea?
Yeah, I've been moonlighting on the US ever since I've accepted the job, but I didn't want it to interfere with what I was doing with Chelsea. So often I'd take calls from like 9 p.m. But listen, a huge credit has to go to Twyla Kilgore. She not only has steadied the ship through this period, but we've collaborated to put in place the right foundations so that I can hit the ground running, and just got, so much tremendous respect for her for what she's done.
Your last press conference at Chelsea was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Actually, what happened at the end of the press conference, you walk off, I won't use the exact language, but you talk about beating the Spanish in an Olympic final. Where did that come from?
I can't remember the question, to be honest with you.
I don't think there was a question. You were well on your way out.
Well, I think someone was asking, like, what's next for you, sort of thing. And I rate the Spanish national team. They're the best team in the world for a reason. They're world champions for a reason. But it's not just Spain. There are many top nations I think we're going to have to beat to compete for the Olympics. And, you have to get used to it a little bit with me. There'll be a few tongue-in-cheeks from me, but hopefully, you get my humour a little.
If we talk Spain, we kind of also have to talk Barcelona. You had some epic clashes with them in the Champions League. And one of the most recent ones, one of their players, Bonmatí, accused you guys of playing dirty. A lot of U.S. fans saw that, and I think they kind of liked it. What did you make of that?
I think when someone has to say something publicly like that, it means you've rattled them a little bit. I think I'm perfectly suited for the US job, let's put it that way.
What do you mean?
I think we suit in terms of mentality, in terms of, style and approach to games. So I think that if we get the opportunity to play against Bonmatí again, there's no denying top player, top team. But, I look forward to the type of work we'll do together to get close to that.
Another incident that a lot of U.S. fans saw was the contact after the game with Jonas Eidevall, the Arsenal manager. People said, hey, this is our American manager. She's got fire. What do you want people to know about that incident?
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Look, of course, it's far from ideal to do things like that, pitch side especially. But it's a game full of emotions, and there's a lot, riding on that. We'd lost the cup final, and there were things that were said on the touchline from him in particular to one of my players, but I think it's best left where it is, and know that, I will do my best to manage my emotions on the touchline. To be fair, I'm usually quite calm. So this is football.
I think there's a lot of U.S. fans that maybe didn't see so much of Chelsea. For those people, how would you describe style of play, identity that maybe you're trying to take from club to this national team now?
Well, everything's built on the, solid principles of play. Like, I want the team to have the ball. That's clear. Where we dominate and how we control games, that's going to take work over a period of time. But I'm the sort of coach who, I focus on the things that really, really matter. The money areas, the boxes. It's about scoring goals. It's about not conceding goals. It's about putting together clear strategies so that the team not only can pick them up quickly, but concise enough to execute no matter who goes into the team. And I've spent 26 years cultivating the ability to do that. So we play with fire for sure. There'll be a lot of heart in what the team does, but for me, I want to take the team to another level tactically. We certainly have to, introduce that, because the top teams in the world are exposed to so much more, because they have multiple competitions, European Championships, Champions League, etc. So we've got a lot of learning to do.
Can we dive a little bit into the personal side of the decision to take the job?
Yeah.
Do you remember kind of the first moments where this job crossed your radar and you really, truly thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the World Cup and the team had gone out, and I was actually with Nike. I was at a Nike event with they have this program called the Nike Athlete Experience, and team going out. Of course, people just asking, is that something you'd be interested in? And at the time, my dad was dying, so I didn't really put too much energy into it. But I knew that it was one of those thoughts that just wouldn't go away. And then maybe a week before my dad died, he said to me, if the opportunity ever comes up, you've got to do it. This is what you were born to do. It's time to make that change if you get that chance. And then I got a phone call, and I came to New York to interview for the job, and I left not knowing, how that would turn out. And when I got the call being offered the job, I remember sitting at home with Harry running around the kitchen and thinking, I can't believe this. I've just been offered the biggest job in world football, and I felt immense pride.
Why do you feel it's the biggest job in world football?
Historically, no question. You only have to look at the titles the team has won. But I like the challenge of it this time round. I'm used to being in a team that wins a lot, so I understand being victims of your own success. And I think the team and everybody in the US acknowledges that to get to the top of the podium again, we have to evolve. And I think it's really suited to me.
If you look back to your early days in the United States, how much did that play a role maybe in the decision to come back? Because when you say, once it entered my mind, it wouldn't leave, there's a why there, isn't there?
I've just forged so many lifelong memories, like so many friendships, I've got so much learning here. My life was almost 10 years in the US before I went back to England. So it's been instrumental in my formative years, and I always looked out for the team. I always looked out for the league. I've always had curiosity around it, and if I'm honest, I never thought I'd return. I thought I would stay in England and in Europe, but always difficult when you've been in a job 12 years, because you get conditioned into thinking that you won't do something else, but I just couldn't shake the lingering thought in my head the entire time, and knew that I got the chance to go full circle, having been a young coach here, coaching across the domestic game, to come back as the international coach is like American dream stuff.
You could look at this team and say it's going through a generational shift. It's coming off its worst World Cup ever. It's not the ideal time to take over. What would you say to that?
I mean, what is ideal? That's the first thing. Two, I believe teams evolve, and there's always going to be change. It isn't just going to happen now as a result of a defeat. I think the team, the federation have, understood its learnings from not just last summer, but the things that we need to do to go to the next place. And I'm just focused on, not a lot of time, but Twyla has been putting a lot of those building blocks in place for the last 6 months. Yes, I want to hit the ground running, but I'm only focused on step by step. Like, we can't achieve what we want to achieve without being firmly focused on the processes to do that. And I know that we got a committed dressing room, locker room, got to get back to saying that again, a committed locker room that will do anything they can to help the US return to the top.
If you look at the current player pool, what excites you the most about it?
Well, I think one thing's for sure, I've always thought the US has had an exciting player pool, but I think in the growth of the NWSL and the opportunities and development platform for players there have meant that there is a bigger pool coming through, and we've got some exciting, creative, attacking players. But I value experience too, and I think going into an Olympics you have to get a blend, you have to get a combination, and we have to stage it. This moment in time is all about the Olympics. After the Olympics, I can start to think beyond that. But between now and then, let's get the most robust group, a roster of 18 that can be adaptable. We've only got 16 outfield players, so I am excited, but I know it's going to be tough to select a roster.
There's a saying that the rest of the world is either catching up or has caught up to the US. Do you see it that way?
Oh, the rest of the world's caught up. If anything, I think we have to close the gap. I think in Europe in particular, the investment into the game, not just internationally but domestically, has meant that there is no gap whatsoever. I think on some levels they might have more exposures to more experiences, more diverse experiences. Like I said, the European Championship, the Champions League competition. So we have to learn quickly.
We talked about pressure, it being one of the biggest jobs in the world. Can you have success here without a World Cup in 27, without winning it?
Well, I think we have to take one step at a time. I think, my job is to get into camp, meet the players, prepare the players for Korea, select a roster at the back end of June for the Olympics, 2 warm-up games, then the Olympics. I think we have to go step by step. We can't go too far ahead.
So let's focus on the Olympics. How ready do you feel in terms of knowing the pool, kind of knowing what you need to know about this program?
Yeah, I think the staff are very well versed on the pool of players. Everybody is being analysed and watched on a week in, week out basis. I've been kept up to date with those things, and I have been watching players and teams in the background. So I can only control what I control. I'm here now. My focus is on making sure that I just maximise the time that I've got with the team and get us as ready as we possibly can be.
It's not easy. I'm sure it's made tougher by the fact you only have 18 spots for the Olympic roster. Yeah. How much from a coaching standpoint is that a challenge?
Yeah, extremely challenging. But
do you wish you had more?
Yeah, 23 would be ideal, but it would be 18 plus 4 alternates. But it's the same for the rest of the world. The same for the other teams in the Olympics. That's what it is. We deal with that, and we have to make measured decisions in and around who makes that 18, with all the considerations that are needed.
To the players that didn't make the roster that you just put out, what's the message to them? Is there still time for the Olympics?
Yes, there's still time for the Olympics. Ideally, everybody's playing regularly at their clubs, ideally for as long as possible, as often as possible. But I recognise we can't have everything in an ideal world scenario, but I want to aim towards that. I will say this regularly, I value the NWSL. I value that players are playing on a regular basis because that's how you close the gap. So everybody needs to focus on performing at their clubs, and I will take as much time as possible before I make a decision.
The expectations around this team are always kind of win or bust. Given the timeline, the fact that you're just coming in months ahead of the Olympics, should fans adjust those expectations?
I think the fans need to know that there's a process to get to where we want to get to, and that there is a team that has certainly been in transition from last summer, and we're making steps in the right direction. And I want the fans to understand that my focus is on getting the performances right. I'm not the sort of person that runs away and gets caught up in solely talking about winning, because I understand what it takes to win, and for us as a team, we've got a lot of learning yet before we get to that point.
What are the most important things that you want to see from the group, whether it's in Colorado at these friendlies or in the build-up, to make you feel like, yeah, we've got a team that can go win a gold medal?
I always want players to be coachable. I think that's essential. They're going to have to take on information quite quickly and absorb, adapt. I want to see how everyone is under pressure, because we know you're going into the Olympics, that's going to matter. And I want to make sure that everybody is as robust as possible in the lead up to selection, because it's going to be tough and I'm going to have to leave out players. So I want to make sure everybody's focused on looking after themselves and making sure in the best place possible to put themselves in the frame for selection.
Emma Hayes, thanks for the time and welcome to the job.
Thanks, Seb.